Regular council meeting of the village of Armada will now come to order. Will everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance to the flag, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Well, that was a voice in this room. That was good.
Do we have roll call for it?
Clark?
Here.
Tonin?
Here.
Bullock?
Here.
Ballard?
Here.
Cooper is absent. Belkey? Here. And Shaw is absent.
Go on the agenda. What's the council's wishes?
Mr. President, I'll move that the agenda be accepted as presented. Second.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, the floor is going to be open up to citizens' comments. You'll have 3 minutes
And
to
then
address.
non-agenda items, please. Yeah, because we're in open the pellets. This is just non-agenda items.
Okay. On non-agenda items at this time, for 3 minutes at this time, if you like. State your name for the record, and then proceed with your question or statement.
So the public hearing is not to be discussed right now? Is
No.
that
Right.
Michelle, okay.
Yeah.
I do have a couple questions. Kathy Short, Fulton, 73801. In the last couple of weeks when this all came up, I was looking on the internet at our website, the Armada Village website, and
It's obsolete at this time. We're building a new one.
is there a way you can just take it down or say under construction? Because we have no information.
We are not in contact with that webmaster at this time. So we're building a new one. I hope to have it up, I hate to commit myself, but within the next week or so.
Okay.
So we'll
Because
probably
there's
go
no-
live and add on after.
There's
but-
no budget information
Yeah.
or anything
Yeah,
there for us
it's
to
obsolete
access.
at this time.
Anyone else at this time? Okay. So we'll go on if there's no further. Presentations, we have no presentations tonight. Next is the administrative reports. F and B, that would be Steve and Chris, please.
Since Chris is here, I'll let him give his report.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Munson. I'm with F&B Operations, and I am the project manager at the wastewater treatment plant. During the month of February, it was a pretty quiet month. We had no exceedances on our national pollutant discharge permit. The average flow was 166,000 gallons a day. Max flow was, in one day, was 231,000 gallons. There are some action items in here that I would like you guys to discuss amongst yourselves at some point. Trying to keep it short. We did have a lot of maintenance done per se, besides the normal computerized maintenance management system that I have. On February 9th, EMS plumbing was out to certify the backflow preventers, which protects the public drinking water from any cross-contamination, and they all passed. He did suggest replacing 2 of the other ones that are in the grip building that are not being used, but with the SRF and with the plans of the water lead being moved. That's totally up to you guys at the moment. On February 15th, Clark Fire and Safety was out to certify and check all fire extinguishers on site. On February 20th, we had Larry's Auto Service come and do the annual generator maintenance. The starter switch was going bad on it, so we had them replace that as well. It was just a toggle switch, push up and push down. They also replaced the tires on the skid steer that were original. All the beads were bad on the piece of equipment, and there was very little tread left. On February 21st through the 23rd, DJ McConnell, HVAC, was on site. to assess the pneumatic system on the boiler. They found some items that should be addressed, and a proposal was given, and that was handed to Steve. We can talk about that in the future. Operations, not a whole lot happened. On February 9th, we collected our low-level mercury samples per our new NPDES permit. We had one emergency alarm call out. That was on February 25th for a high flow alarm. Brian arrived on site, found that we were above 270 gallons of influent coming in a minute. He noticed the flow was dropping, checked everything out in the plant, and he left at 1:30 in the morning. I've had one pretty big incident happen last Thursday on the Colonial Street lift station. Number 2 submersible pump. It had a bearing or something caused the impeller. It wasn't plugged. It seized up. The motor was shot. We measured it. Had a jet pump come out and pull it. So there was only one pump in service. This morning at 8:30, got an alarm call for high flow alarm. Knowing that I only had one pump, I instantly called Alamon Septic to come out, pump down the wet well to try to prevent any basements from backing up. Called Jet Pump. They are still on site. They arrived about 4:15. After they found what was wrong with the number 1 pump that was still in there, from rags being built up on the power cord, a tail of rags got sucked down by the impeller, and it sucked the power cord up into the impeller. So the current pump that was working still is working, but the power cord has been pretty chewed up. So we had a pump put in service, a new one right now, changed to 3-phase with a VFD. I will get some more information on that to pass on to you guys and to Steve tomorrow. Do you guys have any questions for me, or?
Well, what I want to add on to this tonight is expenditures down there, because I want him to be able to not come back to us to, for asking for money or whatever. Because it's pretty important down there in that lift station. We can't have any basements flooded.
And this is all emergency time for them. As I don't think, did you receive any calls today during the day? I don't think Ed did either.
No, Ed even came in and asked.
We had another alarm at 12:30. I went down, reset the pump, did the amp draws, FLAs, full load amps for 7 amps, which is what the pump's supposed to be. Went back, got another alarm call at 3:30, went down there, it wouldn't reset, so I called Avalon again. They came out, sucked it out, and then a jet arrived on site. And after pulling the pump, I know I'm trying to keep this short, we discovered that. So I don't even know how long that single phase pump will last. It's been in there either 17 or 14 years, depending, I have to find the serial numbers on it, but one was installed in 2000, another one in 2003, according to the records I found. So they've almost exceeded their useful lifespan. But Jet is still down there installing the new pump that you guys can make your mind up on as soon as we...
Either we're renting it or we're going to buy it.
They are changing it to 3-phase with a VFD, so let's say, let you, I mean, it makes sense. I can't give a rough figure from what I guess on what we've had done in Metamora. I know the pump was anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 plus labor. So, and they're about the same size.
Okay.
And jet pump has always been the cheapest for us all the time.
Chris, is there anything we can do?
Should prevent that?
Well,
Maybe you should talk about non-flushable items.
Yeah.
yeah, do we have
We
a
have a lot of
list
people
this
here, just so you know what not to flush.
It is very good bacon grease if you deep fry a turkey, not to dump it down your drain. Put it in a can, let it get hard, throw it in the trash.
Baby wipes.
Baby wipes, flushable, disposable wipes, they don't dispose. All they do is clog the pumps up and cost the village and the taxpayers money for when this kind of stuff happens. It's baby wipes and all that kind of stuff that got wrapped up around the pump cord that sucked it up into that got a tail end of it, which sucked the power cord, pulled it right from the strap, pulled it right up into the pump and caused what damage there is.
Or do you think we should send letters to the subdivision?
It's been on the
I brought
water-
that up to
it's-
Steve.
It's on the water bill.
Because the last 2 months, the grease buildup in there, we got Metro coming out Monday to factor everything out because the grease buildup has gotten extremely
Yeah,
bad
it was
the last
really,
couple
I
of
was
months.
shocked how much grease was in there. You would think it was a commercial, you know.
You seen the
business.
pump too when it was pulled, it had probably 50, 60 pounds of crap on it. That's another thing I've talked to Steve about, doing an annual PM, he's got a proposal, I'll get a fresher one. To come out and annually pull all 5 submersible pumps we got, change the oil, do all that kind of stuff to them. If there was a bearing like the one that went bad, that's something you'd be able to hear or feel in the shaft, you could wiggle it. That's the kind of stuff, being able to pull the pumps and have them checked on a yearly basis could prevent from happening and having an instance like we've had over the last few days. I've had no problem with that lift station, then you get one pump out of service and all of a sudden something weird happens and now you got this emergency situation.
Well, it seems it's happening all of a sudden again, and it needs to stop, so if we need to send letters or something, or if we can track knows where it's coming from.
That'd be hard to do because it comes from laterals from everybody's house to the sewer main and then it just drops into the lift station. And so it's kind of hard to say where it would be coming from. It's not like you can go pop a manhole. You could, I guess, per se, but there'd be a lot of manholes and pop. It's been the last couple months that the grease buildup has got really bad though. So,
But this just shows you, I mean, the age of our plant, you know, the SRF that we're talking about. It goes with the lift station too. You know, it all needs, to, you know, it's not some lack of maintenance. It's just, the stuff is just getting old.
Well, I think an education's a good idea too. I mean, maybe we could get together and put together something for Channel 6, put it out there. I mean, people use the toilets for garbage disposals, disposable diapers, tampons.
Yeah, the stuff does not
Yeah, I
break,
got
the stuff
some.
does not break down.
I grabbed these at
You want
an
it?
education thing I went to just for, they kind of makes basic wastewater. Or I think the public can generally understand it a little better. DQ said everybody was great, by the way. Just so you know.
Right now, anyway. Thanks, Chris.
No problem. I've still got a bunch of work to do. I won't be gone for a while, so I will get with you tomorrow first thing in the morning when I get a proposal from them.
Okay.
We'll go from there. So.
Hope your evening goes better.
Oh, it can only get better, right? There you go. You guys have a good night.
Okay. Yeah, thanks to Chris and Brian for handling things for us down there.
Have a good night.
Good night.
That treasurer's report, you have that in your packet.
Didn't planning have something? Yeah, okay. We still have,
Oh, okay.
departmental comments.
So we're gonna do that in the treasurer's report?
No, he just comes up ahead of you.
Administrative
Yeah, you're still on
reports.
administrator, he just comes up ahead of you. Because I have a police one too. In Sherry's absence.
So I talked to the, Brian, our planner today. We were talking about the sign ordinance and updating the sign ordinance. And I said I'd come back with a dollar figure. So I think I can do the sign ordinance with the planner, a public hearing, and have the attorney look at it for $1,500 or less. Right now.
No. So we'll take that under advisement and,
Any questions? No? Good? Okay.
that sounds reasonable though for the amount of money, apparently.
Okay, then I have just one thing from Sherry, that Sherry and Becky have been working on, so in Sherry's absence, Becky asked me to present it to you guys. They're still using the old Nextel phones that they bought years ago. Our average bill per month is $389. They've been looking into switching over to Verizon. Right now, we can get a credit for each line, each phone. So we can get about a $400 credit for the phones that we're going to switch over to Verizon. We'll keep 2 of them still on the AT&T Nextel phones. There's no activation fee on the Verizon. And it will actually work out a little cheaper. The average bill through the AT&T Nextel is $389. So with the switch and the credits back, we'll be getting a bill for $375.27. And one of the things that's actually brought this on is that there's some applications, security application type things that the police have that they need put on a phone. And she's also got a note here that says many government and law enforcement agencies are requiring the departments to have the ability to text. Another reason for moving into the smartphones for the DPW and the police department is that they have better cameras and video capabilities. So if they have to take something that we need to work off of that picture, they've had those capabilities. So
How many phones is that, John?
there's 4 phones that will switch over to Verizon. So
How come the two aren't switching?
there's something to do with air cards. I don't know what an air card is.
It's a computer hookup, so it's not a phone, but it's a computer plug-in, so it's like a hotspot.
Oh, okay. So that's going to stay with AT&T in one of the police cells. So, and those will be the only 2 that would stay. So they are going to work at switching that over to Verizon probably as quickly as possible, so we don't spend any more money than we have to. So it's not an increase, there's no extra money to it at all.
I think the
So-
credits only good till the end of the month.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons that they wanted to bring it in to your attention right now, is that the $100 credit per phone is only good till the end of the month, so she'll want to jump on it tomorrow.
Okay. Any other liaison reports? Not? Our general business, consent agenda, approval of the regular council meeting minutes of April 13th to 17th. These payment bill, listed depositories, and we're gonna pull the investment policy.
Yes, yes.
And that's gonna be brought back for next month. Our next meeting, pardon me.
Yes, next meeting.
Next meeting, first meeting in April.
And Marv, I don't know if you want me to add expenditures at the lift station, or you just want Chris to go ahead and do what he needs to do down there, and then we'll figure it out.
I don't know what you can approve if you don't know the amount, so
Yeah.
it's gotta be an emergency purchase.
Okay.
I don't see much value in authorizing something you don't.
We might be $4,000 or $5,000 at least, so just to give everybody a heads up.
And then set the proposal administration fees.
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda be accepted as amended.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. There's no old business tonight. At this time, we're going to enter into new business, which is a public hearing and to consider adoption of special police assessment resolution number 2, establishing the Armada Village Special Assessment District, the district in other words, to pay for certain costs, expense of police motor vehicles, equipment, police protection, in other words, and authorize further proceedings to assess the cost therefore to the property specially benefited by the police protection in the district. And the time is going to be 7:19 for that.
Joe's gonna go first, and then the other one.
Oh, okay, all right. And next will be the capital charges for water and sewer, a proposed millage rates, and the 17-18 wage allotments for treasurer and clerk. Need a public hearing to adopt fiscal year 17-18 budget and sick pay for employee payout.
Mr. President, also move that we enter into,
No moving
Not
yet.
yet.
No moving yet. No moving yet.
Oh, okay. All right, our treasurer will do a presentation
presentation.
Yes, okay.
I'm going to try and explain this to the best of my ability so that hopefully you understand it. The PA 33 is a municipality's means of collecting additional revenue for health, safety, and welfare. We don't have a fire department, so ours is directed towards our police department. The village and the village councils have been very, very good about trying to save you money. So they haven't raised taxes in a very, very long time. I'm talking 40, maybe 50 years, as far back as I could trace. So in doing that, the general fund's revenue has reduced because you have to pay additional taxes. You actually not only didn't pay additional taxes, you paid less every year because we go with taking the heavily rollback. So in all these years, your taxes have reduced. So has the revenue for the general fund. And then we were also hit by, a few years back, we had the reduction in assessments due to foreclosures. We've had reductions for reduced state revenues, for Act 51 funds. So the funds that have come into the village have reduced every year. And it doesn't take Einstein to figure out that when you're paying out the same and more, and your revenue is less, sooner or later, the bucket runs dry. So right now, everybody who lives in the village of Armada knows our streets are in dire shape. We haven't done anything to a local street since Teats and Fair Street. And that was years ago, years and years ago. We do have streets that are in very, very bad shape. The general fund at this point is not in a position to help out any of the other funds because it just doesn't have it. And there hasn't been any means of increasing the revenue to generate it. So I talked with our attorney, talked with our auditor. Our attorney, Jeff Pohorsky, also recommended that we talk with Noah Canfield, who are the bond counsel that the village has used. And they came up with the concept that the best solution for us would be to subsidize some income into the general fund using the PA 33. I like that idea because the PA 33 protects the police department. It can only be used for the police department. It's a dedicated fund, it's restricted, it can't be used for anything else. So any help that the streets needs from the general fund cannot use a dime of that money. So in the same case with most municipalities, when things get tight, budgets get strapped, the first thing that you look at is your biggest ticket item. Ours is the police department and the DPW. So rather than try to make more cuts in those departments, this subsidizes the police department, which hand in hand frees up some money that the general fund itself would have paid into that fund. So it's kind of a win-win because the police department is protected 100% with that money. It doesn't necessarily cover their whole budget, and the PA 33 is flexible as needed. So whatever is required that year, that's what would be presented to help subsidize that department. The additional revenue can then in fact go to helping out the street departments or the water or the sewer, which every department we've got, without generating any more revenue, is hurting. There's just no two ways about that. So it's not due to any mismanagement of funds, it's simply lack thereof. So without increasing everybody's taxes, in the water department, or not, taxes would be in the water department, but the millage for the streets and the general fund, this kind of takes care of both. You've got the West Main Street project that's coming up. Thankfully, we can split it into 2 years because you got your preliminary engineering that'll come into this next year's budget, 17-18. and then the construction will go into the next year. So that gives us a little bit of flexibility there. But the PA 33, as I said, frees up a little bit of money in the general, so if needed, the general can loan to other funds. And it would be nice to be able to go into a budget workshop without the primary means of that goal is what can we cut out? That's just no way to run a budget. So without any additional money coming into the general fund, that's all we've done for, I can't even tell you back how, 6, 8 years at least.
More than that. More than that.
Probably. So, you know, and that's not how you run a practical budget. You need to be able to go in and budget things into departments so they can get their services done and take care of the business of the village. The last dump truck that the DPW had before this one, they had for 40 years. So things just can't go on in the path that we're going, because like I said, if the revenues don't start to generate, start to build a fund, your streets are not going to get done. The general fund is going to continue to reduce till, I don't know, last minute out, turn out the lights, because if there's no other solution for it, the state's not, we can't call the state and say, well, we need more money, give us more. It doesn't work that way. So, Jeff, unless you've got anything else to add, I think that's about the best solution, or best explanation I can give.
Yeah, I think you summarized it very well. I think you've been a little bit modest. I mean, I think what my experience has been here for coming out after many years is we generally had fund balances and close to 30%. Unfortunately, pardon me?
Healthy fund balance.
Very, very healthy fund budgets, but we started to live and rely on that fund balance to fund operations. And unfortunately, when you do that, it's like your bank account. At some point, your needs are going to exceed the balance in the bank, and it doesn't work any longer. Although Joe said, you know, the last one, you know, will turn the lights out. Unfortunately, the state's not going to allow anyone to run the ship into the ground. And as you've seen in many, many cases across the state, they will step in at some point if you neglect to take care of your finances. The other thing I just want to mention, at one of the workshops that I attended here, you know, a lot of times the message delivered to the public when it's coming from your local elected officials, your first instinct is, well, they're covering something up, and, you know, why are they doing this? And, you know, I've got materials here I'd be happy to share with you, but the tsunami that hit Michigan in 2008, it's irrefutable what it did to municipal finances. Most of our revenue comes from property taxes, and when taxable values plummet, in some cases 30%, that directly impacts what the village can generate to fund operations. On top of that, the state has basically turned its back on locals. They've cut our revenue sharing dramatically across the state, so that source that we've had for the last 30 years has been declining practically every year. I presented council a couple of graphs, one which I'm not sure any resident in Michigan would be proud of, but there's a graph that shows from the Michigan municipally, and this is based on United States Census Bureau data. So the growth in municipal revenue from state sources, in other words, what state government is giving to local governments. On this graph, there's 50 states plotted. So, you know, you have North Dakota, they, through oil revenue, have greatly increased their funding to local government. I'll give you one guess which state is 50th in supplying revenue to the local government, and that's the fair state of Michigan. So it's very dramatic. I mean, I have copies, if somebody wants to take a look at it. Not only we're last by a lot. And again, yeah, so, well, you can pass, I've got extra copies, so people can take a look at it. And it's not a pretty statistic, you know. This doesn't even discuss, you know, school financing, which is another disaster. The last thing, this came out this week, so, and I'll share, I have extra copies of this. This was pretty dramatic. It's Crane's Detroit Business. It was published on March 24th. And what this basically showed, it said, the headline was, "Has your town recovered from the Great Recession? Check our property value map and searchable database." And it was very interesting. I looked up Armada. So of course, Armada Township and Armada, the village, are blended here. but again, it's irrefutable. From comparing from 2008 property values to 2016, the township and the village both blended together. The peak year was 2008, and since 2008, we're 21% down in property values. So I've got extra copies. Lau, if you want to pass some of these around. So again, these don't tell the whole story, but it's raw data that you can look at. I think it tells our story as well as every municipality in Michigan. It tells the same story. It's not pretty. So again, to summarize, we just need to generate more revenues to fund operations. The only thing I'll add also is, what are your options? Okay, what can you do? Certainly you can do nothing. I think Joe touched on that, and that's not a viable option for anybody. The other option is to cut. And again, we have the largest portion of our village budget every year goes to police. There's not much else we can cut. We don't have a lot of employees. It's a pretty lean organization, always has been. So to make this work, we'd have to pretty much either drastically eliminate services in the area police service or eliminate it. That's the only thing that's really going to have a meaningful impact. And then lastly, like I said, the only other option is to keep using fund balance, and as we said, that's really not a viable option either. So again, the prudent thing, after speaking to the auditor and attorneys from Miller Canfield, is this is probably the best way for us to generate additional revenue that we need to fund village operations.
Excuse me, but just one other thing. Whatever we love, with this act, it goes for what, 10 years? 15 years. If what you levy now, this year, is not a permanent thing, meaning that mills doesn't stay on forever. You gotta look at it every year. You could go up and you could go down. As our assessments go up, hopefully we won't have to take as much, but they're limited on how much. But if you took 3.5%, 4% this year, or mills, it doesn't mean you take that next year. You look at it again. So it's not a permanent thing. Like your other millage, that's on there permanently. You get that every year. Hopefully it could come down.
Getting along those lines about every year. So the other thing, I think many of you realize this, but I'll say it because this is the other constraint we have. Although property values decline based on Crane's 21%, property values are going up. Okay, assessments are going up. I'm thinking, have you got your assessments for the village?
Yep.
Okay, so everybody sees this assessment that says your home value went up 13%. Well, that does nothing to help the village because we're capped by Proposal A. We're living off 0.97% this year. So even though your assessment went up, taxable value is capped to the rate of inflation. So even though a 13% increase sounds great for your home value, and surely you'd think the village is naturally going to be able to collect more, that's not the case. Proposal A caps us at less than 1%. So we just can't grow out of this. So we had a huge decrease, and we can only incrementally climb out of it. You can see based on the Cranes article, that's a very dramatic example. 8 years later, we're still 21% down. So there's no way to get out of the hole that was dug. It's going to take a very, very long time. Now, if everybody in the village sold their house, that obviously uncaps it, but that's very unrealistic. That's not going to happen. Over time, some homes will uncap, and that allows the assessor then to uncap the value. But that, obviously, that's completely dependent on how many homes sell in the village. Certainly not going to dig us out of the hole we have.
No, and that's why a lot of you see it on your tax bills when you look at it and you see an SEB value. That's the part that can increase by that 13% or whatever it actually increases each year. But then you see the taxable value, and that's always lower. So especially the longer you've lived here, that gap is further and further apart because it's that slow pace that we can recover into that taxable value, into the SEB value.
And when you sell your house, then it becomes uncapped. That allows the assessor to increase it from taxable value to assessed value. So, but again, that's few and far between for us. It's just not generating enough. So you're ready to...
I think it's really important, though, to mention that our police, this is not due to any budgeting
As I said,
errors from the
no.
police. I mean,
No,
you
it's
know, we
very
got a
private.
new chief, I don't want anybody to think, oh boy, he moved in and, whew, you know, made this, it has nothing to do with their budgeting. It's been a long time coming.
So, yeah, so we're ready for the public hearing to open, so we're gonna go at 7:36 or 37. Yeah, move that we go to the public hearing.
At 7:36?
I'll support.
Okay.
By Clark. Any further discussion? Yes,
Right.
follow up, please.
Conan?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Baylor?
Yes.
Belkey? Sorry, say. Okay.
Okay, the public hearing is now open to the citizens, and you can address the council as such. And the thing is, you're gonna be held to 3 minutes, so everybody can get a, word in, their ideas in. We'll start right now. Who wants to be first? Pardon me?
Ben Delecki, Main Street. So if I can, just to get it straight in my mind, so that it's basically a new millage, correct? But
Special
But-
assessment.
it's a special assessment, okay. So, but it really doesn't have anything to do with the police department, although it says that it's for the police department. It's really just a way to create revenue because you can't raise taxes other than this. So it ensures the police department continued service, but it also adds to, it allows the general fund not to fund the police department. Now you're funding it with the special millage, so you're really adding to the village general fund, which I know sitting at many of these meetings, you're hitting prior year funds to cover that, and we have the DDA thing, which kind
Yes.
of came from the tax thing also, which is over $28,000 a year. And didn't the new police truck, didn't that kind of get paid for by something that the police department did?
Yes, that's the police inspections. We're gonna address all these answers and questions, in other words, later when we get out of the public hearing.
Okay.
Anyone else? Pastor Farber?
Dr. Farber, I'm pastor of Calvary Baptist Church up on the north end. My address is 74925. I've been in the village 31 years. And I support the special assessment. And I have talked to several people since I got this letter. And they seem to feel we should maintain our own police department and keep local control. And because of quicker response, and we do have a great police department. I have a couple questions that I need to be answered. One of them is, we discussed and you discussed freeing up the money. When we had the ad valorem fee on the wastewater treatment plant, correct? There was a special fee given to the nonprofits at that time. I'm wondering how this is going to affect, we don't pay taxes, but we have a lot of nonprofit organizations and prayer property in our village. And I wonder have you discussed the situation in regards to how that is going to affect the nonprofits? And if you haven't, I think you should address that. And if you have,
It's 3 minutes.
I'm behind it then.
Sorry about that.
Also, I'm in support of it, and I know if it comes down to a 50-50 situation, I think you should put it to a vote before the people. It's my own personal opinion. And I thank you for allowing me to speak to the village today. I haven't been in this room in a long time, but I think we've got a great village council, I think we've got a great police department, and I think we should retain what we have and not give it away. You give it away, you never get it back. Never. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Elaine Barker on Morrison. I was just wondering about the actual figures. I haven't heard any numbers come up on what this would generate as far as money goes and what you need. So I wonder what,
They kind of, the totals?
like,
Did you get the
money.
letter, man?
How many residents are paying $178 a month, a year? At 3.5 mils.
Can you give your name, please?
Don Oskowski, 74235 Simon. 57 years I lived here, in the same house.
Wow.
I took clarinet lessons in your house.
And my street hasn't been fixed.
Not either.
I got a pond right in front of my house.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, you both are.
And I think
That street.
you people ought to take and cut back on your police force. I was talking to Louis Perica, and him and Tubby run this police force with 2 guys, 1 car, not 3. It's ridiculous. That's my feeling about it. And you guys got a good summary on how to divide up $173 down to 47 cents. But nothing here's printed here on how much money you're drawing from that 3.4, 3.5 mils. You're giving you an open, you're getting an open check, a blank check. That's what you're getting. That's my feeling.
Thank you. Next.
Darren Kraus, lifelong resident of Armada, business owner in town, as well as live in town. I'm very supportive of the police force. I think they do a great job. Yes, I would question, is there a comparable thing to Richmond or Memphis on how many cars they have and what their costs are, and are they assessing special mills for their departments?
Anyone else?
Scott Mabbott, I live over in the sub over there. If we say we get rid of the police, I understand, I go through New Haven every day, so I see the county cops are there. I go to Richmond, I see the county cops are there. I go over to Romeo, I see the state police. What's gonna guarantee people here? You know what I mean? Because we don't never see the county cops anymore, so that doesn't help. My concern is my children are gonna graduate. I'm concerned the children at the school. If something happens, you need somebody there now. You see it on the news every day. Every day, you see it up on the news. And on top of that too, just the speeders, you know, the craziness. You know, we all know you gotta do 25 past Dave's house. You know you better do 25 past Dave's house or you're gonna get a ticket. That's just how it goes, you know? Every morning I see them, I leave at 4:30 in the morning. Every morning, they're sitting right out there making sure everybody's doing the speed limit coming through town. And it's about the children. My kids will be gone, so to me, I don't care. But if something happens at that school, all you people will all know. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Well, sir.
Yeah, my name's Carmelo Pertero, 73722 Franklin. I'm new to the village. I moved in, my wife and I moved in November of 15. One of the biggest reasons I moved here is because of the closeness of the community and the safeness of it. Just want to let you know I'm a former cop, so I'm for this millage. I know how the millages work. I worked in Shelby Township. We kind of got screwed several times by not using the right amount of millage for the right amount of people. And the people out there suffered. Some people waited 20, 30 minutes for someone breaking into a house while other calls are being answered as important. We had to use Utica, Sterling Heights, state police had to come down to cover our calls, and they shouldn't have to do that because we had the manpower. And I think that millage, I always thought Armada did have a police millage. I didn't know it was running off the general fund. When I saw that letter, I was kind of shocked. I go, wow, okay, running off of a general fund. I go, they should have their own assessment. And it's a regular assessment, and it has to be, like the attorney said, it has to be reviewed every year. Or just show him in here, he's brought it up. It had to be reviewed every year. Sometimes it'll go up, sometimes it goes down. House values go up, you use less millage. It's a set millage. If you're planning on 3.5, and they said it was $175 a year to do. I see the police in my subdivision all the time. I don't know if one of the guys live in the area or whatever. I know there's several out of area cops that live in the village. There's a husband and wife team that live not too far from me that really like to see the police around. They're very friendly. I talked to the new chief. I introduced myself to him when he first came in. Like I said, I see the police car. Everybody's talking about this pickup they purchased. Hey, everybody needs new cars. I don't know much about the amount of cars out there, but I see the pickups there, but I don't see I think it was an Expedition. I don't know if that's gone now. Is it gone? Yeah, all right. Like I said, I'm new to this. When I worked in Shelby, I never attended one of their meetings because they always bashed the police over there, so I just stayed away from them clowns up there. I think the village should support a police department. I guess I'm kind of biased to that because of what I did. But if there's anything else that comes up that I have questions on, I will come and talk to you folks. Thank you.
Thank you there. Next, Esther.
I'm looking around and I'm seeing that I've the same faces. God bless you for serving. I want to see some of the younger talent that's moved into here that are hiding somewhere come to the forefront and pitch in. I might be the oldest person here. I was a child of...
Planning Commission.
What?
We have openings on Planning Commission.
We do.
But I was a child of World War II, where the children, the women, and the old people, and Tubby ran this whole village. There was a backup of everybody. Marvin knows that too. And, because he served in that way in the police department himself. There was a time when I left and I would come back and I was in fear for my neighbors and for my mother, because I could look out any window and see people being abused, children being neglected, social services should have been sent in, the schools were complacent. I looked out a front window, and before Don Yowie bought the pits, there was crime going on a daily basis. And the community did not have adequate policing at that time. And a lot went on. Well, as you all know, I want each one of us to drive with this police force at one given day and see that they have to deal with global issues, national issues, state lack of funding, plus all of the dysfunction that is happening with the wonders of technology and all that technology has brought to our small, isolated, insulated community. About 3 or 4 years ago, our community, plus another one in Wayne County, based on population, had the safest safety record. So people moved out here. You can't move out unless you add to. And I am used to pulling in my belt, and I would do it gladly again for the police, no matter how you do this. Do it wisely for the taxpayers, but we've got to do it. And we have to do it now because the other shoe drops, and we're going to see other things that this community and other problems that this community is facing other than the policing. So please support them.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Terry Rooney, Church Street. I probably out of anyone here have a bigger understanding of the whole picture. So I can look at a lot of different angles on it. I was on the council here for 2 terms, 8 years. I'm a retired police officer, 33 plus years in that business. I can look at it, I was even the chief of police of a small one-horse town up north, and I can look at it from that perspective. Based on that, there's a couple things that I can probably fill in some blanks that I haven't heard coming from up here that might answer some questions for the residents, but also a concern too. My concern is the letter in there said that an option would be to eliminate the department. And unless the laws have changed since when I first started back in the late 70s, your only option is to eliminate the department would be to contract with the sheriff department. And that's not a financial option. Their costs are significantly higher. You can't contract with Romeo or Richmond. We don't have adjoining borders. You can't do that. You cannot totally eliminate the department. Any municipality in the state of Michigan, incorporated municipality that has more than 500 citizens shall provide for law enforcement, for police protection. Now, it doesn't say as to what level, but you do have to provide for it. So that might mean, push comes to shove, yeah, you may have to cut some hours or something, I don't know. However, one thing probably a lot of citizens don't understand, I'm gonna stand up here for a second. One thing you may not understand is there's a lot of moving parts behind the funding of the police department that they have no control over here. Ticket revenues, money from the state, forfeiture funds, overtime. Overtime is a killer. And there's absolutely no way you can budget for that. 2:30 in the afternoon, ready to get off work, and all hell breaks loose. Now you're stuck. You have to stay and handle the problem. You can't leave. Guys get called to court all the time, and there's absolutely no way. I mean, you can budget an overtime budget in there, but it's going to go right down the tubes real fast. And I don't know, I'm sure they'll have the figures here on what the homicide just cost us a couple of years ago. I know that wasn't budgeted, the amount of money that had to go into that, and that was probably a budget killer. So those things you just cannot figure out. And that's police department in any municipality, your police department, public safety, but police department in particular is probably your largest expenditure. Here, since we don't have an FD, that's the township's problem. But DPW also, both of those are labor intensive. Yeah, there's technology, but most of it's labor intensive, and you have to pay those guys to be there. And that's where your funding comes in. Years ago, somebody just suggested, well, years ago we had, 2 guys handled it here. Well, that was years ago, and this is today. And based on not only my law enforcement work, but what I did in the military, we're in a whole different world today, and it's not a very pretty one. And we can't do today what we did. Pardon?
This town's the same size.
It is, but the people going through it are not. And that brings up another thing. When I was on the council, this is one of the problems we always had. We're a small town, but we're on a main drag right out of the city, and yeah, our tax base is smaller, but unfortunately, a lot of our problems are city problems, and a lot of our labor costs in particular. We're competing with the Detroit labor market and what departments down the suburbs are paying. And that's a reality. We have to try and compete with that, whether we like it or not. It's the reason why Mike here, he and I worked the road together. He worked in Mount Clemens, I worked Clinton Township. There were many times we'd run into each other, at accident scenes or whatever. Those are the labor costs that you're competing with. So he has most of the part-timers here. So those are probably things that probably most people here don't understand where the funding comes from or the lack of. And it's a killer. The only suggestions I would have might be, 2 areas that I would look at would be how often is our car having to go outside the village to handle something for the county or the state, and is it necessary? Maybe that needs to taken a look at. I've checked with some of the other departments around here, and they have varying policies, written and verbal, as to what they will or will not respond outside their jurisdiction for. And it's, that can be a problem, because if one of our guys is outside handling something that the sheriff department should be handling, and our guy gets hurt, our workman's comp and everything else is gonna eat that. The flip side of that coin is, that's officer safety, and I've worked a one-man car in a rural area, Santa County, before I came down there. And believe me, when your nearest backup is 25 miles away, lights and siren at 100 miles an hour, and you're fighting on the ground, been there, done that, it's not fun. And I can recall one day when I came home from work, after I got done working the afternoon shift, came up and I just happened to come around the 4 corners, and one of our officers was down on the ground fighting with somebody. And I was out of the car in a heartbeat, my own personal car in a heartbeat, and I was right into that first fight. So you have to be able to work back and forth on that with the neighboring jurisdictions, but it becomes a fine line as to abuse from the other agency where we're taking things for them, and the mutual job that we all have to do to cover each other's butt out there.
Terry, I'm gonna have to ask.
Okay. But yeah, one other thing of mine real quick, and that would be to some of the other smaller departments around here do not run a 24/7. We may have to look at that for during the cold months of the year, like it or not, if things are that tight. Do we look at maybe in the early morning hours, do we need that? And I'll be happy to work with them to look into these figures up.
Good, very good, thank you. Anyone else?
There's 85 cars go by my church every day, 8,500. 8,500 cars going by the church.
It's very busy.
I was
Okay, anyone else at this time? We have to keep this going, please.
by the county, that's how
Sir.
many cars go by that church.
Robert Abraham, 73610 Floral Street. I'm also a full-time member of the Armada Township Fire Department. I do want to say I do support this millage, as this village needs a police department. I know from working with the Sheriff's Department and working with Michigan State Police in the township that sometimes they have a long response time. Yes, we have a Michigan State Police post in Bruce Township, minutes away, but they might not be there. Their posts are varying. So and the Sheriff's Department's only required to respond to the township on an emergency basis. So active burglary, shootings, anything like that, they're not required to come out for property damage accidents. You know, active domestic violence, they'll come out, but something that's, the offender's already left, they're not required to come out. Also, like the gentleman here said, you know, we contract with the Sheriff's Department. You're not only paying for your deputy that's out here in the village, you're paying for Detective Bureau, you're paying for dispatch services, you're paying for the whole Sheriff's Department, because it's a one cost. You don't get a package. It's one cost. Also with the Sheriff's Department, you know, you look at Lenox Township, you look at New Haven, they all run one car per shift. Lenox Township gets something they need backup on. New Haven's losing their car, and vice versa. If we get the Sheriff's Department here in the village, I guarantee you that's going to happen. This police department is needed. Now, the Sheriff's Department and MSP do back our officers up when we need them, and vice versa. You know, I appreciate when I'm sitting on the side of the road waiting for a scene to get secured, and I see one of the village officers come out and secure that scene for me, so I'm not getting hurt. It does help our public safety to have them in the township as well. But they do clear quickly and efficiently to get back in the village for protection as well.
Thank you, sir. Next. Sir?
Alan Hoxie. One of the things that I've talked to other people about this assessment is they're concerned that the money's being put into the general fund, which you guys stated earlier was going to happen. If you guys do this, and it probably needs to be done, I really suggest that you keep a separate fund for that so people see that that money is not being used for stuff in the general fund. Because that has been concerns that have been brought to me. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
I have two questions. One, because the information, our budgets aren't online right now, the current ones, the state of Michigan has the budget for ours, which I'm supposing is what we reported to them. And in 2014, the police department cost $345,697. But in 2015, it cost $505,818. So there was an increase of 46% in the police department between 2014 and 2015. This is right off the state of Michigan site. So I have some concerns of where that it should actually happen. The second thing is that it was the general fund was referred to as they could lend money to the road fund. The general fund hasn't lent money to the road fund in a long, long time. So if we get more money in the general fund, it's probably not going to go to the road. On the other hand, we've been borrowing off of former year funds for a long, long time. And what I would like to see with this is a perfect opportunity to take our police department and take it outside of the general fund and make it a complete full police millage. So that when we get our bills, we see our water bill, we see our road taxes, and we see our police taxes, and we know what the whole police department is costing us. And then the rest is really our general fund. That makes it easier for somebody like Ed, who's fighting for a 40-year dump truck to be replaced. He doesn't have to fight for something, computers in the cars or something like that. So I would really like to see that, and this seems like a good stage to do it, seeing as we have to segregate this money for the police department.
Thank you.
On the other hand, I'd like to say I support this. If that situation happened, I support it, and I certainly support our new police chief. You guys did a wonderful job there.
Thank you. Next.
Can I just say one more thing real quick? I did personally talk to Chief Patrick as well, just actually a few days ago, and it was also in the news article that just came out in The Voice, and I think it was today or yesterday. From what I read, the police budget and what he told me, he trimmed almost $50,000 out of his police budget for this coming year. So that's got to get brought into the fact that he's budgeting his department the way it should be. Also, again, with the cars, I talked to him with the cars. The cars aren't bought with taxpayer money. Vehicles, equipment, lighting, the whole 9 yards are bought out of the salvage fund from vehicles being taken in and impounded. All those impound fees, forfeiture funds, all that stuff goes to the police department for them to use that to purchase equipment like that. And also the K-9 vehicle, that's all been donated. So none of that money came out of taxpayer money either. So we got a lot of stuff in this village for the police department that none of us have paid for.
Who pays for the insurance on all that, the upkeep on that vehicle? As you say, it's for free.
Sir, we can't go back and forth here. We're just having addressed the council, please.
I do have that same question, and I forgot that. Like, they're paying for, you're having free vehicles, but we're paying insurance and registration and maintenance on those. Is that also coming from that same fund?
Anyone else?
Yes, please. John Patter, 74081, 74091 Church Street, business owner and a resident of Armada Township. Some of the confusion that I've heard with a lot of people is the fact that the general fund funds the police department, as you said, and it isn't its own mill. The proposed budgets have been roughly $385,000, which is 9.83 mills on the village to generate $385,000. And you're right, the chief has said that he's reduced his budget to about 335, which is 8.55 mills assessed on the value of the property. Question I'd have, is this special assessment levied on personal and real property or personal property only?
This will be answered later.
Okay, the difference in the numbers then is if the levy of 3.5% is on real and personal property, it's $137,000. If the levy is on real property only, it's $128,300. These are very close but general numbers. As the fire department operates, as your fire department operates in the township, it operates on its own special assessment millage and stays completely independent from the general fund. So we have a way of tracking the fire department and know what the budgets need to be and how we fund it. Thank you.
Thank you. One more time?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I support the police department and your millage too.
Thank you.
Again, I'll make it quick. If the answer Kathy's concern on the sudden jump in the 2 years budgets for the department, is that the year of the homicide investigation? And if so, it might be worthwhile to break those figures out. Again, I say, there's no way in God's little green earth you could have ever budgeted for something like that and expected it. So that needs to be looked at, break that out for supporting. Also, with respect to the pickup truck, Mike explained to me, it cost them about $1,000 more to purchase that over another vehicle. All of those, a regular scout car that you get, like the Dodge out there, is no different. The one you would go and get and buy at a dealership, other than it's got a few more heavy-duty parts on it, they just don't hold up that much better. So when you get something larger like that, it's gonna hold up better, last longer. Those Chrysler products in particular, and it's been that way ever since I first started and before in that line of work, they just don't hold up. These things are, I guess, are going through camshafts and front-end parts. So hopefully, the heavier duty vehicles, and most departments are going to them for that reason. They hold up better. Pay me now, pay me later.
Thank you. One last. Any more? So it's going to be fitting and proper to end this
I'll make a
motion.
motion to close the public hearing
What time?
at 8:06.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion?
Did Val get that, or did you?
Yep. Val,
8:06.
yeah. All in favor?
Aye. Hey, Joe, can you explain the difference why it was the 500,000 and now it's 366? Because of the salvage?
We had a murder in there.
Pardon?
Starting expenses, we had a murder in there, murder investigation.
Yeah, but also before you had the salvage as part of the police budget, now you have it separate. So
As
that,
will, this will be separate, a complete separate fund too. There's no-
so it didn't go up 145%.
Well, it didn't go up 145, it was 46%.
But the thing of it is, that was mainly because of that salvage
Well,
title.
we don't know that, right?
I know, that's why I'm saying it for you.
I'm guessing, you're
Yeah.
guessing, I'm wondering.
No, I'm not guessing. No, it did.
David.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing is that we're going to,
Resolution.
yeah, okay, the resolution itself.
Yeah, they could.
Before.
Yeah, at this time, we'll open it up to the council to address some of these concerns here that the citizens have brought forth. So who would like to start and address them? David?
Well, I would just want Joe to say, because last year's budget had the salvage title inspections and everything in it, but this year's doesn't, it's a separate thing. So it appeared the police department was spending a lot more money in the village than they weren't. The salvage inspection is a separate revenue that the police department is doing that's helping us a lot. That's why we got the cars without any kind of cost to the taxpayers, because of the salvage inspection money we've earned. But that money could only be used for specific things.
And insurance comes out of that. Also.
Oh, insurance comes
Yeah.
out of that.
Insurance and the license plates, all of that that comes from the expenses on those vehicles.
Anything else? Any
There are a few questions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, some of the questions I think would be,
Special fees for nonprofits for Pastor Carter.
Yeah, Joe, do you know?
Yeah, that, I talked to Pat McGowan on that, and the ad valorem tax can't be imposed the way it was that, because that was a user fee, this is an assessment, not apples for apples, you can't do it that way.
I didn't mean that you could do it that way. I wondered how you were gonna handle that.
At this point, we can't. There's no provisions in the legislature that allows that you can impose any means of collecting from people that don't pay the taxes, because this is an assessment based on the tax assessment roll, not on user fees.
I think she's saying, Pastor Farrar, I think she's saying, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that this special assessment would not be collected against
nonprofits. Or zero tax parcels.
Right.
So it is collected on real and personal, with the exception of the personal property that elected to opt out of tax collections.
Then, I understand that, but if we contributed
You can
as a
donate,
church
yep, you
to
can
the
donate,
police
but
department,
they can't
then
send you a
would
bill.
that be all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not advocating it.
Yeah.
The first church that
Mrs. Barker asked how much is generated. I think the Q&A, essentially, the resolution to be adopted tonight specifies that the cost to be, I shouldn't say the cost, the amount to be generated to fund police protection services in the village is...
137,080.
Thank you. So that's the amount that will be generated.
Assessment roll.
Right.
137,080.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, oh, I'm sorry, I spoke down to my paper.
That means the general fund still has to kick into the police department.
Yes, they do.
Correct. Yeah. And then the amount per household, well, we really could not obviously give you every household in the village at this point, but we did try to give you the average cost, I should say the cost to an average house in the village based on taxable value. And Joe, that amount, if you want to give that out publicly, it's in, I think it's also in the Q&A.
Right, it is, the average was, what the auditor came up with was $175. That's based on the $50,000 taxable value, so not everybody's gonna have that same taxable value.
Mr. Krause's question, comparing how many cars, I think that was addressed by Mr. Rooney and others. It's a very difficult comparison to make based on the size of the community.
City versus a municipality.
Yeah.
Different rules for different municipalities.
Right. But again, I'm just not familiar, I can't comment on whether Richmond or any other community, how they fund their police operations. We could find that out for you if you need us to, but I just don't have that information available. Let's see. I think Mr. Hoxie's question about the general fund was answered by Joe, that you would account for this.
Yeah, we've already discussed it, that will go into a separate fund.
Okay.
And that was Kathy's issue as well.
My issue is not a separate fund. Why do we not have a police fund separate from the general fund altogether? Like, instead of it being
Well, it would be a separate fund.
1 minute. Instead of it being 175 over here and 125 over here, why wouldn't it just be a police fund for 300,000?
That's what it's going to be. It'll be a separate fund.
It's not a police
But are
fund.
you gonna transfer the funds from the general fund that they
Yeah,
have to use into this fund, so now you're gonna
Now
have...
it's a complete fund, exactly. So we'll have the, whatever is levied on the special assessment in that fund, and then the general fund will actually have to make a contribution to that fund, so that just the police fund money is in its own fund.
And then once it's in the fund, it can't be taken out, correct?
Not the
But it's not a
137.
public safety fund, that's what I'm asking. Why is it not just a public safety fund and a general fund? Why, this would be the time to do that.
I don't understand what you're asking for. There's the police fund that will be in.
It's very similar, John explained this happens in the township.
That's what I just told you that we would have, a general fund and a police fund.
It's not. It's not. You're taking money from the general fund to fund the police still versus the police having their own.
That $137,000 will not.
I understand that.
The idea
Then
would
how are
be,
you not,
To have a
how are you not
separate-
getting enough
she
funding?
wants you to change it, the way the funding is, where you had a regular millage that was just for police.
So the police department would be totally funded by by the millage.
The police,
Right.
that
But
whole
not by
village
this
will
one.
go into the police fund.
Right.
But that fund, in and of itself, will not substantiate that whole department.
I
So the
understand.
general fund, which is separate from the police fund now, the general fund will have to subsidize that amount of money to operate the police department.
But take for instance the township. The township has
Their general fund.
an
and the-
okay, but there's an ALS millage and a fire millage.
Right.
No money goes from the general fund to that millage. It just goes to that millage for the fire. How come we don't do that here in the village instead of having to transfer this fund money from the general fund to the police fund?
Well, and that.
And right now, and
Don't
Kathy's
make a
right.
change.
Why
That's
not
what
right
will
now
happen.
set a millage rate that funds our police department completely?
It will be more than 3.5%.
Right, absolutely, it'll
You'll
be
be
like,
looking more like 6.5%, 7%.
right, but
But then the general fund would go down.
then the general fund would go down by that
You'd have to
amount.
redo all your millages.
Then the general fund couldn't substantiate the whole thing. So what we're telling you is that the general fund is going downhill.
I understand that.
So unless,
So what is the millage portion of the general fund? Like what part of that millage goes towards the police department that's in the general fund? Like is it
of what millage, the 9.7 or the 3.5?
the one that's in the general fund? What portion of the general fund goes to the police?
About 8.55 million.
No, it's probably a little less than 2/3 of that amount.
So let's just say, for instance, you take that 2/3 and make that the new millage. Like maybe it's 6% millage, maybe it's 7% millage, and then the general fund would be what was left as their millage. That way, whenever you get your tax bill, you see right on it, this is what I pay for police. I feel very comfortable with that. And I think anybody does. People don't really not want police. And
No, and
wanna support
that's
their
my
police.
opinion as well, too. I think everybody in this community sleeps well at night knowing that we have 24/7 coverage.
But to see that it's 3.5 over here and then we'll just take the rest over there, you're not really getting a full picture of what that millage is then, of what the police department costs. For us, you guys work with budgets, so you do. We
Right,
don't.
3.5% of that fund will come from the millage.
Is there a reason why we can't make a separate police fund, public safety fund, period, public safety
I'll have to run this
millage?
by Curtis,
That might be
the
it.
auditor, just
Actually,
because
we
we're
have
not
three
saying the same thing.
If I may, we have three streams of income in the township. The transport incomes
So,
are part of the income, and then the special assessment.
John, it's not a township meeting here.
I think so.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Jeff, you can't compare the city of Richmond for funding because it's a city.
Okay,
Right, we don't have.
All right, just before council makes the motion on the resolution tonight, please understand that this is not the last step in the process. There will be another public hearing on April 24th. So those interested, we'll do our best to answer your questions. We'll get the question answered by the village's auditor on the question about whether we can create a separate fund, pros and cons. We'll get that answered between now and April. But again, you will be getting another notice. Every taxpayer in the village will have another opportunity to speak at the public hearing. So again, this is just the first step. I just want to make sure everybody understands that at this point.
Okay, good. We're
Okay.
we're gonna move on here.
Yeah, we make the motion. Okay.
I'm not we don't put it.
No, this is just to set your district.
Okay, I move to adopt a special assessment resolution number 2, establishing the Armada Village Police Special Assessment District to pay for certain costs and expenses of police motor vehicles, equipment and police protection, and authorize further proceedings to assess the cost thereof to the property specially benefited by the police protection in the district. Support.
So then supported. Any further discussion from council? If not, you can go roll call.
You want to do a roll?
No, we don't have to. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Any, better ask any opposed, just.
Any opposed or don't like to hear it?
Okay, good.
Yeah, next is our capital charges for water and sewer.
Yeah, he did. He said that.
Bill, are you going to address that issue?
What?
Your water and sewer.
I can, yes. I can.
Go ahead. Good.
Okay, just like we do every year, these are your capital charges for water and sewer. I gave you your proposed and your one from last year, so you can see the difference. They went up as discussed in budget. Somebody, who's making the motion? I motion to adopt the debt resolution approving the new water.
You're gonna evaluate on this?
I can't even hear me.
What's one?
I move to adopt the attached resolutions approving the new water and sewer rates.
Support. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Yes, Paula.
Delkey? Yes. Ballard?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Tonin?
Yeah.
Bullock?
Yes. Take it easy, Motion carried. Next is set proposed millage rates.
Again, this is something that we do every year, and these are the proposed rates, they are not final adopted rates, and they're always set at what you had adopted the prior year. So Michelle has the resolution in the packet for you.
It's on your agenda.
I know, I just gave it.
Really good one. Lovely neighbors, but it's the times.
You got that?
Doesn't anybody keep it up?
Yes. It's the internationalness that we're in.
I'm trying to hear all these questions.
Just kidding.
C.
Maybe we should be there.
GB
Now, you want them to set these tax rates?
Yes.
All three of them? I move to accept the recommendation by Treasurer O'Dare to propose the 217 tax millage rate at a maximum allowable levy as permanently reduced by MCL 211.34D and authorized under the Truth in Taxation MCL .21124E with full understanding that these requested tax levy rates will be reduced if necessary to comply with the state constitutional Article 9, Section 31.
It's MCL.
MCL Sections 211.24E and 211.34. The following rate shall be proposed. General Fund, 9.2810 mils. Municipal Street Funds, 3.7122 mils. Wastewater Disposable Facilities, 0 mil. Total mill, 12.9932.
Support. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Wage allocation. Do you have that in front of you? Both resolutions are there, please?
Mr. President, I'll move Resolved to establish the compensation of the village clerk in the village of Armada in the amount of $25,236 annually, effective April 1st, 2017.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion?
I'd like to say that these don't include any increases,
No
just so
increases,
everybody
no.
knows.
Same as last year.
Mm-hmm.
Same as last year, I'd like to see it all.
We vote on that?
No, it's not.
Sol?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
Belkey?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Cronin?
Yes.
Cooper's not here. Wallach?
Yes.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, motion carried. The next is the treasurer's compensation. What is the council's wishes?
Mr. President, I'll resolve to establish compensation for the treasurer of the village of Armada in the amount of $36,219 annually, effective April 1st, 2017.
Support.
Again, these are the same figures as of last year. Any further discussion? Not?
Ballard?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Wallach?
Yes.
Cronin?
Yes.
Belkey? So messy.
That's outside
It
here.
sounds like it's like
They're
behind
talking.
us, doesn't it? Yeah, but it must be just echoing off, because
It's hard to hear.
yeah, it is. Very distracting.
Doors closed.
Or don't get while you're trying to work. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next is the public hearing to adopt fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. What is the,
You have to enter in the public hearing first.
yeah, we'll enter into a public budget hearing.
Mr. President, I move that we enter into the public hearing at 7.
No,
No,
eight.
that's 8. I'm sorry.
8:28.
8:28 PM.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Ballard?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Cronin?
Yes.
Belkey? Yes. Wallach?
Yes. Motion carried. We're not spending any money though. What's the council's?
No, this is public hearing.
Oh,
Nobody had-
I'm sorry here. I'm looking for different things, I guess. So this is a public hearing to adopt the fiscal year budgets for the village of Armada. So does the citizens have any comments? Yes, Doc.
I guess, probably been brought up multiple times, but I haven't been to a lot of meetings. What would that say to turn North Avenue and Main Street over to the county?
Well, I don't think you're gonna wanna see it, probably.
We once looked into that a little bit, and I can't say for sure, because I kind of wanted to do it to get it paved. And I think one of the things they would do is,
Cut down all the trees.
they said they'd cut the trees down, they would increase, I think the speed limit would have to be 35.
You lose the diagonal parking downtown.
You
Yeah, the
would
parking.
lose some things,
Yeah.
but I remember at the time, I wanted to do it, but nobody else did, because I wanted to get the road paved without us having to do it. And, I don't know what it would take now, we haven't looked at that for quite some time. About
We would actually
6,
lose
8
our-
years ago, we looked at that, Cat Lyle.
More than
And.
that. We would actually lose our major road, our Act 51 fund.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be our road.
For the village, yeah.
When you looked into it, when you looked into having the county taking over Fulton, was when you did the Fulton Street project prior to that.
Yeah.
And the county was gonna give you $1 million, but you had to do curb and cutter and remove the trees, and that was gonna cost you $1 million. So it was a wash. So you didn't get, you wouldn't have got any money for turning it over.
And then you lose Act 51 going forward.
And you lose control of it.
Right.
So,
So
we
it
didn't
has
look
been looked
into it
at a
at
few
that
times.
time.
But all we did with the new road on East Main Street, North and South Fulton, we did that ourselves. You know, so that was a great accomplishment.
Well, yeah, but we got a lot of,
We got grant money.
we got grant money.
Yeah.
Yes,
good
we
grant money.
got some grant money with our money too.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing is that we did accomplish it, and it was good. So now this is what we're trying to do with West Main Street. Now, that's gonna be our next project. I mean, we're talking out of Taylor, a little school, you know, a little bit, but I think the thing is, it's going to actually happen. We're talking about that in 18, so to get that done. And we want the side streets done too. I have to address it at the same time.
Yeah.
But if that's gonna be in our budget,
We need help.
Yeah, agreed.
we're not gonna do it this year.
Yeah, no, we're working on it, and that's all we can say.
We live on a gravel road in town.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah, you can chuckle, but that's true.
We definitely need money, period, and we're trying to get as much money as we can, you know, from MDOT as such too, so.
From the
and one
county.
thing also, you're not just doing a road. We don't want to put a new road over 80-year-old
No,
pipes.
that we-
So
we
you
know,
gotta have the
Replace
money.
the pipes.
It's,
Yep.
you know, it's sewer, it's water,
Gotta
so
be
it's
done
not
right.
just the road, so,
Right.
just so you know.
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Can you do like a section of the town, you know, spread it out, like every year you're doing a different section of the town for the roads? I mean, we lived over there for what, over 40 years. Ours has never been resurfaced. It's looking like,
The other dirt roads.
Ours has never been
and
done.
here's,
Yeah.
right, I
40
mean,
years.
Neither is Mr. Laskowski.
and do we get money from the state, from the
No.
gas
Not the
taxes
local.
for
Not the
roads?
local.
Not local, that's major streets.
Because, just major streets.
What about those cabbage funds? Can that be used for roads at all, or no? Those grant block funds that you get?
Oh, the CDBG, no. No.
Cabbage funds.
I looked at that.
These cabbage
Yeah.
funds.
But she said, oh, gosh, I don't know.
She knew what I was
I
talking. We understand each other.
And you know what, I wish we could, because those CDBG funds are very hard to spend.
Yes.
But there's so many restrictions on
Because
it, you can't.
you're supposed to use them for blight and things like that. Well,
Not even, your district has to be blight, but it has to
Income qualify.
income qualify people, and that, I couldn't income qualify you because other people travel your street. If they make it,
Yeah, okay, understand.
yeah, it's
But-
very frustrating.
Okay, we gotta get back on track here with the budget.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it comes to the budget.
How's the budget compared to last year?
Tight.
I mean, the percentage, 2% more, 2%
I
less?
haven't done the percentages of it, but
What's the dollar? The total dollar?
it's less than last year. So we just have to tighten up the belt and not put anything in.
This council has tightened a
Now,
lot.
Joe, does this got the proposed millage in there? The,
No.
does-
No, can't do
No.
that yet.
Oh, right, okay,
Right.
that's what I wanted to make sure of.
Motion closed.
Okay, be,
What is the budget for the village? What's the total intake of the village funds?
For the total, or just the general fund?
Total intake. What's you,
Doesn't have a calculator.
But you got lots of different funds.
I understand.
Yeah.
Just the millage part?
Well, I'm gonna tell you
But it all comes off the
the
it's
two
the millage and the.
tax millages.
Well, not the water, not the sewer.
Those are
Yeah,
proprietary.
okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget about
Alright,
water and
so-
sewer.
Forget about water and sewer.
Yeah, I'm gonna take major and local off because they're funded by the municipal funds, so let me give you the total revenue. The municipal fund is 154.42, and for the general fund is 852. Last one,
Very
the whole
supportive.
three, I think. Yeah, it's pretty close to the whole three.
I can't find it because I'm not.
Okay, 2445.
Knock out the 45 cents like Curtis.
No, it's not 45 cents.
Oh.
$1,2,445.
Okay, let's move out of
Out
that.
of that, you got a whole lot of expenditures.
So if you had $600,000 and, $300,000 in taxable assets, that would add quite a bit to the budget.
Taxable.
Where are you getting that? You giving it?
It would, yes, it would be a shot in the arm, much like the,
Oh, yeah.
the increase that we saw with needing the water tower.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
And we're going to exit the public hearing on the budget.
I'll move that, everybody's done?
Yes.
I'll move that we go out of the public hearing.
What time?
At
8:38. I have it recorded ready.
Okay.
Support.
Conan Valley.
Yep, I got it.
Any further discussion from council? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We have a motion to adopt the fiscal 2017-2018 budgets for the following funds.
You want them to read them off like we do?
Yeah.
Projected in our budget.
Yeah, so I can actually use your format this year rather than going on the tree.
Okay. I saved a tree.
Yes, you
You
did.
have the figures there?
No, they're on the budget. I don't record them until I'm sure the budget's done, because
We'll have to take the budget, council.
You might have to help
Yeah.
them along.
Well, what's that?
After you use your budget, you're just not gonna make it.
I got it.
Your general fund amount is $138,115.21.
Did you separate it from each other?
I didn't do anything, I just got this, yeah, 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 I didn't do
Are they putting them separate?
No, he's just giving the amount, so whoever makes the motion can make it.
Okay, salvage title, we're projecting a proposed fund balance of $589,756.
I don't even have it on here.
No, if I asked you if you had it down.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You gotta add that, because that's a separate,
So salvage title is what?
589,756.
589,756 even?
That's salvage title.
Yep.
Fund.
Municipal projected fund balance at the end of fiscal year 2018 is $170,458.39.
Which one was that again?
That was municipal.
Municipal,
Repeat, please.
Major, wasn't it?
$170,458.39.
Got it.
Major has a projected fund balance of $37,913.45.
And local?
Take that there.
Mine has notes in between, you guys.
You wanna know what local is?
Local is 13,501.51.
501.
Okay, we're set to go.
No, we gotta go water and sewer.
Oh, on this page.
The proprietary funds of water and sewer. Water is proposing a fund balance of $159,336.73. Sewer is projecting a fund balance of $103,034.35.
We changed that down.
I know, I was gonna take the cents off and round it.
Well, but no, I thought it went to 98, 134, 35.
Okay, you have both sets of figures.
He's asking a question now.
Yeah,
Dave asked Joe a question.
I think we did make a change.
Because we knocked off that
Yeah.
100.
Oh, 98, 134, 35.
Yeah,
98.
That's sewer.
yeah,
98, 134, 35.
yeah, you are correct, Dave.
Boy, I don't hear that
Dave?
often.
Wow.
Mr. President, I'll resolve to adopt the fiscal year 2017-2018 budgets for the following funds as presented. General fund projected surplus at the end of the year, $138,115.21. Municipal street fund projected surplus is $170,458.39. Major street fund of $37,913.45. Local street fund, $13,501.51. Salvage title fund, $589,756. Water fund, $159,336.73. And sewer fund, $98,134.35.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, this is roll call.
Ballard?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Conan?
Yes.
Belkey? Yes. Bullock?
Yes. Motion carried.
I think it should be stated that salvage title funds cannot be spent on anything. They're very restricted. So I know it sounds like 500 and some odd $1,000 is a lot of money, which it is, but it can't be absorbed into the general fund. General fund can't touch it. So it can only be used to,
We can't even completely support the police.
And that's what we bought the cars out of.
yeah, you can buy
We
your,
do
you
that
can buy
too.
vehicles out of that, you can pay for certain aspects of the police department out of that, but it's a restricted fund. So just so everybody understands
Anything
that.
to do with the equipment like computers, radios, that can be bought with that money.
Maintenance on the
Maintenance
nothing
on the vehicles, I wish Mr. Laskowski was still here to hear that, because that's what that money can be.
Wages can't be paid out of that.
A little bit can.
Just the time that they
Just the
spend
time
on
that
the
they-
actual salvage.
Oh, wait, I take that back, I stand corrected on that. I don't know that I'm right on that. Am I?
Yes.
Am I? Okay, all
Yes,
right.
just the portion of time that they spend on the actual
Yeah.
salvage inspection, but to patrol, no.
Right.
Okay, the next one is the,
Employees.
yes,
This is,
employee sick time payout.
every year, there's still, well, usually I get it from all the guys, but I only got it from Ed this time. They have his sick time, comp time paid out.
I move to grant the request made by employee Edward Saratowski pursuant to Article 4 of the employee agreement for payment of personal/sick time in the amount of $1,311.20.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, money spent.
Yep, Conan,
Yeah.
Ballard,
Yes.
Belkey? Yes. Clark?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes, motion carried. Is there any up and coming agenda item?
I'll probably have sewer stuff.
It looks like pretty definite.
Yeah.
Sewer stuff?
We'll be bringing
Could
back
call it
the
something
investment
else.
I know.
Sewer stuff.
That sounds good.
policy. Yeah, we'll bring back the investment policy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you have the Easter egg,
That's under, coming up things. I'll have probably a short report on my class from last week, just in case. I think you guys all know that I got a scholarship for that, so the village didn't pay for that at all. So, but I will report.
Did you get a refund?
You did? Yes, you did.
Good.
Yeah,
We can spend it, right?
it went back into my fund, yes.
And just to recap out of, Sherry's not here, so I'm trying to make sure I'm as thorough as I can on this. Was there any objections to them changing over to Verizon and saving some money?
It saves money.
No.
Same one.
Sound like a problem.
Okay.
John, I'd like to add a report from the
On the
West Main Street, yeah.
Remember?
So just a West Main Street.
West Main
update?
Street report, yeah, good enough.
Update.
Update, yeah, whatever, we're going.
All right, next is citizen comments at this time. Floor is open up again. 3 minutes.
I have 1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
1 minute, 2 minutes. First of all, do you have a set date when you would decide on the assessment? What is your target date and when you're gonna decide
April
on?
24th is the next
That's
public hearing.
another
That will be,
public
but
hearing,
that's the night they'll vote on
But
it.
that's when you'll be voting on it, right?
That should be your letter to Mrs. Barton.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll get another one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Since spring is coming, can you put into the water bills something about the ordinance for barking dogs? They drive me crazy.
Call the police.
Call the police. Call the police when it's going on.
And now that it's spring, it's gonna be really bad.
Yeah, you just need to call. you need
Yeah,
to
call the police and
yeah.
they'll come right over.
And I thought maybe he could, put it in the water bill, maybe people would see it
No,
and,
they
take
get
it
the
in
hit when
mind.
the police.
People aren't reading when not to flush on their water bill. I mean, that's been on there for a long time when you can't flush. So,
Thank you.
Stop in, just a minute, stop in and see me and we'll put a little public notice on Channel 6.
But a lot of people don't look at Channel 6.
Don't say that right in front of Channel 6.
Yeah. I'm not into.
Oh, everybody
I'm
watches
not
Channel
into-
6.
everybody loves it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the highest rated
Right after nightly news.
cable TV channel.
The best channel Armada has.
Do you have something else, please?
I do, yeah.
Sorry.
But then this, Liberty, I forgot. I really did forget. Oh, my sign thing, I know it's not public comments, but can I proceed?
His
The
sign
sign
ordinance.
You didn't give me an approval,
Right.
Well, is it under his?
and I need one.
Is
Have a
it,
budget?
is it under your budget?
No, I'll have to do a budget amendment.
Can Joe just do a budget amendment on that?
Yeah.
We've got a meeting next Monday, and in order to get our timeline in, I have to have set the public hearing Monday.
Then we can just approve that, the expenditure at the next meeting. Is it in, it's not in his
I'll just see
budget?
if he's got enough to cover it in there.
I mean, the publication fee's not very much.
The planner is your real cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the attorney.
And the attorney.
And the attorney.
Hey, my budget's very good. I was the only one under.
Yeah.
You have 25, no, you put 2,000 into sign ordinances.
You have it.
So we have it?
You have 2,000
Good,
in
so
there.
proceed. Okay, go, full speed ahead. Thank you.
Good luck, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Linda.
I just want to know how we go about enforcing, like blight ordinance around here, where people
That guy
keep
right there.
stacking stuff in their
That
yard.
guy right
Right there, that
Do
guy.
you
There you
have
go.
to make a formal complaint, or?
Give us a call. Where's it at?
Don't say that, don't say it on camera.
No.
Talk after the meeting.
It's not.
No.
We don't even
Talk
do these
after the,
out.
Dennis,
Okay.
talk after the
Complaint
meeting.
comes
You're on
in,
camera.
they're down where they're not told.
Dennis.
Yeah, talk after the meeting. on
Yeah,
camera.
okay, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, anybody who has a complaint like that, they can call the office.
Absolutely call.
So it will be directed either to, him or else the police if it's needed. So, so you can call in as such or see him direct.
Come on in.
To sign anything.
No,
Our name's not
no,
used.
no. No.
Okay, anyone else? Council comments.
Events.
We had a lot of people here tonight, it's the first time we've had in a long time.
Yeah,
It's good to see the chairs occupied.
yeah.
So, and-
Standing room only.
Yeah.
Standing room only.
So, fine, that's good. Community events, anything that the council should know? Yes, Mr. Dunn.
Easter egg hunt,
Absolutely.
April 8th,
Oh, that's
fairgrounds, 11 o'clock. We've got over 7,000 eggs.
Wow.
something
What
good
did
for
we
the
have
kids.
last year?
It's something
With
to
that?
What did
know.
we have last year?
Oh, no, between 7 and 8, something like that.
That's good for the kids.
It is, it's a great
Yep.
time.
The kids do have a good time.
Yeah.
Ben
I'm
has
sure
a
the
good
kids
time.
will show up. Good, good. So we don't have a closed session tonight, and properly fitting now at this time to offer adjournment. What's council's wishes?
Move to adjourn at 8:50.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
So Sherry's not here, so nobody knows who to help.